And we are recording. Welcome to Life Action Roleplay with
Cynthia!
and Omega. And this episode is how much of ourselves do we put into a LARP?
Dun dun dun!
Dun dun dun. Brought to you by...
Oh gosh. Unfiltered nigori and sushi!
Yes, Unfiltered Nigori, the best. The best kind of sake is always the unfiltered kind.
Yeah, especially on a hot summer day like we're experiencing here.
Yep. And any shout outs you want to give out today?
I think my shout out is going to be to Mr. Jimmy Reckett, who helped me out with some character creation ideas for the upcoming LARP that I'm going to be joining.
Nice. And my shout out is to my sister Tina, who, like, she's not my biological sister, but our relationship is very much like brother and sister. And I met her at a LARP, and we fight, but we make up, and I will be seeing her this weekend, so I'm definitely thinking about her. And going into how much of ourselves do we put into a LARP, I did this random post on Facebook.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to see what kind of feedback I would get. So the question I put down was, what is a real-world skill that you have either learned or refined as a result of doing it at LARP?
I really love this question. You got a lot of responses there.
I had over 60 people comment
It's a
on
lot.
this. I am honored. So let's start off with like number one. Oh my goodness, I had to click a couple.
Do you want me to start? I already have it up.
Sure. Okay, here we go.
All right, this is from Jesse. I've increased my confidence, outgoingness, and other social skills over years of LARP. Right on.
Yeah, Jesse is a guy that I've known for a while, and he's lost over 160 pounds.
Hey!
Yeah, it looks pretty good now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he does. He now plays a Ventru.
Wait, what? Excuse me?
He plays a Ventru.
Yeah, my clan, my peoples.
Yes, so he plays your peoples.
Woohoo! One of my favorite people, Heidi. Tactical improvisation. You would, Heidi. Seriously, you would. It's a good one though.
It's a great
it.
answer. Next is Peter. He mentions public speaking and acting. He plays a character from Oakland originally named Grendel, and then when he moved to New York, he changed his Camarilla character into a Sabat character.
You know what character Heidi plays?
No.
Pretty sure she's a badass Tremere, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Hold on, let me ask her right now.
And so next is Steph, my dear friend Steph, and her answer is corporate politics. And she works for a bank, so it makes total sense. Next, Michelle, I love this answer. Setting up tents and camping. I probably wouldn't do any outdoorsy stuff otherwise. LARP is pretty much camping with a storyline.
I am totally with her. I don't camp. I'm not even sure I would camp for a LARP. No, I would have to find the nearest hotel.
Have you camped out for anything? Nothing?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Like you haven't roughed it at a hotel? Okay, all right. Cabin?
If you count the hotel that I was at, the Death Valley, like...
You said hotel, no. The hotels don't count.
Okay.
Glamping.
Wait, no, I've been to a cabin in Big Bear. Ha!
Ha! Did you survive? Well, obviously survived.
Clearly, I'm here.
All right.
I got altitude sick though, so. Yeah.
Okay. Next is Wilfred. He writes charisma, like no joke. Also poker face and how to be dexterous. Yeah, that.
I am watching my pockets around you there, sir.
Yeah, Wilfred. He actually is super charismatic, so I didn't even know that this is a skill he developed at LARP.
Impressive.
So yeah, like if you took what's his name? Oh my god, my brain, from Princess Bride, Wesley.
Oh yes.
And you made him Latino. That's Wilfred.
Wow.
Yeah, he's super charismatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not Inigo Montoya?
No.
Damn.
No. He could play that, but no. Then we have Christington.
That's a cool name, by the way.
Yes. Sneak attacks. Wait, that's not a real life skill for an artist?
No, It really is.
It really is. Absolutely acceptable.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
What about Greg? LARPing inspired me to go out and learn fencing for real. Holla! I did stage combat for a while, so I totally hear you on that.
Yes, I also did stage combat for a year, and definitely hear that. Next is Quentin. Cope with experiencing a full range of emotions.
I absolutely love this. I love this. I don't know why. I know. I just love being able to cope with and experience a full range of emotions. It's an acting skill.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to experience a full range of emotion and be able to come back to your own reality and understand that was a part of a scene rather than taking it on as your own life.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that comment a lot.
Yeah. Then we have Magpie. This is going to sound bad. Social manipulation, how to do it, how to identify it, and how to avoid it.
It is not bad.
This was probably one of my favorite brutal answers.
Yeah.
This is something you actually do learn in LARP. And it's kind of necessary sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's helped me in entertainment.
Yep.
We have Jessica. Obfuscating as an extrovert salesperson when I really wanted to hide in a cubicle and build reports. The former paid better, and there weren't openings for the latter until about a year ago.
Oh.
It's kind of true. Like, I used to be an introvert. But LARP has brought me very much out of it. Or at least have the coping mechanisms on how to pretend to be an extrovert.
I would never be able to tell.
Hmm?
I would have never been able to tell that you're an introvert.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be like a horribly, horribly bad introvert. Like, I could not talk to people at parties. Like, and I still have a little bit of it, but I've learned the social mechanisms, how to get around all of that, and I kind of wanted to do that for another episode at one point.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. As strange as it sounds, I think I'm an extrovert turning introverted.
How do you figure that? I mean, I know you're very extroverted.
So different to me. Differences of an extrovert and introvert is where you recharge. Introverts tend to recharge alone without anybody around them, and extroverts tend to recharge with group settings. This is a gross generalization.
Mm-hmm, okay.
So back in the day, like, I loved partying. Like, that's where I recharged and met people and enjoyed it. But working kind of in the corporate world, like, I'm around people 24/7. So the best way for me to like unwind and cope
Mm-hmm.
is by myself.
Mm.
So I guess when people ask me to go out to parties, I kind of like hesitate because I'm like, how many people are going to be there?
And who's going to be there?
Yeah.
How much energy do you have to expend?
Exactly. So it became, I started becoming more of an introvert because I'd rather recharge on my own or, sitting on the couch with my boyfriend watching Netflix. Like, that's life.
Mm-hmm.
Much better. But anyway.
Yeah, I invented a new term for myself because I realized this. I am an inertia-vert. So inertia-vert to me means if I'm at home, I pretty much want to stay at home, and it takes a long time for me to go outside, unless it's work-related or something that I have to do. Once I'm outside, I want to stay outside, and I'm trying to find excuses not to go home. So if I'm at a party, I will be at a party for a very long time unless I have work the next day, and sometimes I'm the last person to leave. Sometimes I sleep over. Sometimes,
wow.
Yeah, so I'm an inertia-vert. If I'm already out partying, I want to stay out partying.
I am so opposite of that. I go out, I'm like, can I go home? I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going home.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Then we have Caroline, also known as Carrot. Fame is easy. Monetizing it, still a mystery.
It's great. Yeah. Right on.
The weird part about LARP, as well as other geek circles, is that there is a level of local fame that people achieve, and Carrot is definitely one of those people, like, for a while, who's achieved, like, that level of, I guess, notoriety in One World by Night. Like, everyone knew who this was. She also played a Justicar.
Right on, you telling me. I relate with the whole cosplay community and how cosplay has, like, become, like, the famous cosplayers. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I used to cosplay with you and you and you and you and okay, I guess working a corporate job, I didn't really get that famous with y'all.
But now, like, she is known for her intricate weavings that she does for SCA, and she recently went to New Zealand to show off her weavings, and that's
Nice.
that's kind of amazing. So she's trying to figure out, how does one make money out of this. If I knew the answer, I will let you all know. I will talk to Kara. It's like, Kara, do this.
That's something we could post on Facebook. Another question.
We can, maybe.
See what other people have to say.
I guess we could ask the question, what do you consider LARP famous?
Fair.
Molly, one of our postmistresses
Yes.
at Labyrinth.
Sewing and hand embroidery, also stage makeup, but since I only use that for LARPing, I don't think it's fair to count that as a real world skill. Honey, that is a real world skill.
Yes, it is.
Don't even. Stage makeup is forever. In fact, if you look at what stage makeup is and like what contouring is now, it's the same thing.
Yes. And I just went to DragCon last weekend.
I missed it this year.
There's next year.
I know.
There is next year, and that was amazing.
I know. Was Laganja there?
I was interviewed by Laganja.
What?
Because my friend Danny invited me out to DragCon because she said I should go visit it after like helping her with her app, Altel. And then so I went there, said hi, and then before I was about to leave, she said, well, we have Laganja here. Do you want to be interviewed by her so we could talk about your experiences at DragCon because you've never been here? And I'm like, sure, anything to help. So I did, and I played with Laganja's little puppy that was on her lap, and like she just interviewed me about my dog person, I'm a cat person, so I got to be interviewed on camera.
Right on.
And, yeah.
I love her. I went to college. I had the honor of going to college with her.
Nice.
She's amazing. I love that girl so much. So I guess shout out to Laganja Estranja.
Yeah, Laganja Estranja.
I know she just shot another music video, so more to come on that.
Nice.
Anyhow, back to LARP.
Back to this long list, which I'm, again, so appreciative of the number of people that commented. So
It's amazing.
it is.
It's amazing.
It's really cool. Jason.
Hi, Jason Fader.
Hey, Jason. I'm probably the only person that will have this answer.
Yes.
LARP has helped me be a wizard at radio tech and Wi-Fi networking.
Again, yes.
Yeah, he is
You're
pretty
the
much
only
the
one.
only person who can say this. Next, Ted.
Ted, I've worked on and improv my singing for LARP. Wow, that's impressive.
I guess in this case, improved my singing.
Oh,
It's so
improved.
In this case, it's just so weird, but yeah, improved to singing.
My singing. Well, it's still impressive.
It is.
In particular, pushed me to expand my personal library of songs that I know.
Yeah.
So when are we going karaoke with him?
Well, I know he plays at Dystopia Rising. I've never been to Dystopia Rising, so when I first go to Dystopia Rising, I'll have to listen to him because I think his character is based off of the Church of Elvis.
What?
So he sings in that style, and I'm like, that's kind of amazing.
That's exciting.
That is. Next, Derek. Soothing temperaments. I know someone asked, was that in character or out of character? It's like, it doesn't matter. I think it's important to do it
skill.
anyway.
It's a good skill.
Next, Tina, who I give my shout out to. Dialects and acting in general. Real world skills for me considering my professional performance pursuits. It was one thing doing them in school. It was another to get to practice them in other venues where loss or gain of income wasn't a factor.
Yes, girl.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'll read Heidi. Heidi McDonald.
Yeah.
I've only actually LARPed once. Yeah, girl. But I got away with some things there that I've never in other instances. In any other instances. Walking in and acting like you know exactly who and where you are and what you're supposed to do when actually you're making it up as you go along. Oh my god, I do this all the time.
Yep.
I arrived too late for anyone to be free to train me, so I just put on a costume, walked up to the tavern, and started acting like freaky tavern lady. Oh my god, you've got lady balls. This is awesome. When I had enough, I put my costume back and went home. So I guess acting like you belong somewhere in order to convince others you belong there. It's called Hollywood. All the people in Hollywood clubs do the same thing.
Yeah, that was a well-worded answer.
Brilliant.
That was a brilliant answer. Next would be Mark. Funny enough, combat sense. After LARPing for a while, I noticed that when I walk down the street, I have a little bit more attention to the minor details. Also, an approximate range of where people are to me. I'm used to not notice things like that before LARPing.
It's a really interesting concept. Like, so as a female, and I think other females can relate to this, we have a hyper sense of awareness, especially being in public places, of all the stuff that Mark just mentioned. So, and I've asked guys about this, like, do they, when they walk up to their car, I guess I'll ask you, when you walk up to your car, what do you do?
Okay, so it depends on if it's daytime or if it's nighttime.
Nighttime.
Okay, nighttime, I'm paranoid as F. Partly because I am short, and I have been mugged at knife point in the past.
So you know to check your car.
Yes. So I do.
I get it. So most females, usually we have our keys ready, like where, regardless if it's a day or night. Like most females that I know, we're usually grabbing our keys by the time we're leaving wherever we're at to jump straight into our car. So it's interesting that he put that in there, because I think that might actually be a male thing. I could be wrong. Y'all tell me. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's, I guess someone who has never encountered that scenario doesn't know to automatically be defensive. So in my case, because I have been mugged at knife point, I do that, but probably not as often as I should still.
So let me jump right to it, because honestly there's a lot, and I don't think we're going to be able to get to everybody's right now. So what's your skill? What have you learned?
So I've learned a couple of things depending on the character that I have played. So I've played a character named Virgo Reese, and when my first character died, my friend Casey, who was playing a elder Bruja, Beryl Reese, said that he wanted me to play his child, and I was really, really honored because he's a really good role player and he played a very powerful character. But I had no clear concept going into this character because Bruja is not my go-to. It's actually my least go-to, but I was so honored to play with Casey.
Yeah.
I had to figure out something that would play, and so I thought, okay, I don't have a concept, so I'm going to play a smarter, sexier, more rich, better dressed version of myself. That's literally what I thought, because I didn't have any of those things. So the thing with Virgo is I learned how to dress better, how to dress for effect. Like I started buying suits. I only had one.
What?
When
That's
before playing Virgo, when I was done with playing Virgo, I had like 7 or 8 different suits.
That's what I'm talking about.
That I wore. One of them was all leather.
That's a lot of leather.
It was a lot of leather. A lot of cows died to be on my body. No! But yeah, like it was a leather blazer, leather pants, leather tie. It was all leather because my character just kind of did that.
He is decadent.
He is decadent. And he was also a Bruja, so if he had to get into a fight, he generally didn't get into a fight, but if he did, he would at least look nice doing it, and his clothes would still stay the same.
Nice.
So that was the idea.
I dig it.
The other character that I played that I learned something really big was Sicariel, my current character in Twin Mask. So this one is a interesting, weird one because Sicariel is a character that he's a lord. He played from game 1 at Twin Mask, and he was a drunken noble. And he had lots of money, comes from a very rich culture, and nothing is impossible for him. He doesn't think of anything as being impossible. So when people say, well, I don't have enough money, he just doesn't think about these things. So playing Sicariel has actually taught me how a privileged person thinks.
That's an interesting concept. Okay.
It's a really interesting concept because when I play that character, he is literally the epitome of someone who's privileged. As someone who is not very rich, someone who's not very rich, someone who is not straight, and someone who is not white. Like, I play a character who is extremely privileged. But it now allows me to understand when some people have those discussions, like, oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. So pointing out someone that they say check your privilege, it's like, they don't understand that, so don't say that. They'll make them,
make them feel bad.
Don't make them feel bad just to feel bad. You just talk to them. It's like, okay, so this is what I experienced. My experience is not less legitimate, and your experience is not less legitimate. You just haven't experienced what I have.
Right.
So often it opens a lot of the conversations with people. So I don't usually get flack for being different, which is nice. because I just learned to open those discussions.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's what Carl has taught me in playing that. What skill did you learn, and how?
And how?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So skill I learned was being able to assess a room, understand where political struggle is located, where's the strongest point in the room, and where to stand to attract people to come talk to me.
Huh. Okay.
So I guess it kind of plays into the person who wrote about politics and understanding that, but it was more as understanding your room, reading your room, and it was one of my favorite moments that I had playing my La Sombra Elena. Her sire, played by Jason Carl, he actually took me into the middle of the room and actually stood me in the middle of the room and then asked me a series of questions of where's the most powerful point in the room, who's standing in the most powerful point of the room, why are they standing in the most powerful point of the room, and how do we pull attention from that area.
Wow.
And I was actually able to answer pretty much every single question of that until the most powerful point of the room, when I realized he had put me in the most powerful point in the room, which was the center of the room, and I was like, shit. Okay, I'm in the middle of the room. Crap, there's people looking at me. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something about this. It was a really cool experience, but after having that sort of information, I was able to walk into the year after. Oh, that's my table. The year after I walked in, playing my Venture Sia, and I was asked to play an NPC in New Orleans for is it Hidden Parlor? Let me check real quick. I think it was Hidden Parlor. Mario had asked me Hidden Parlor. There we go. He had asked me to play an NPC, and I had told him about my Venture character, and they're like, "Oh, that's perfect. You're vying for Prince." I'm pretty sure I told the story, but I guess the part that I didn't say was I walked in, and naturally all the vampires were black, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm a Ventru, and this is what I have with me. I brought an all white suit, and so I found the white plush chair that was sitting in the corner that was completely and utterly lit, and I was like, most powerful point of the room right there. So I sat down and I didn't move. I made everybody come to me, which was actually quite an interesting ploy in itself, politically, because when you're vying for Prince, you kind of want to make your rounds to people, and I didn't make my rounds to anybody. They all came to me.
Wow.
So talk about assessing a room and understanding what the kind of players are in there. Yeah, it was a good time. So assessing a room and being able to pull power is probably my skill set.
Nice. So the next character you're creating, are you going to use these same strategies, or are you going to play like a different character altogether? Oh, so by the way, Sin is creating a character for a new vampire LARP that she's going to be playing in, which I also happen to play in.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, you've mentioned a little bit about the characters that you've played, but what's going to be different about this one, and how close is it to your real life?
So character, I'm playing another Venture, of course, because I'm a Venture.
What? No.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who
No
knew?
Nosferatu, no Malkavian.
Not yet. I'm not terribly comfortable with doing this, especially because I don't know the group yet, and I don't want to venture into something without trusting the group yet.
You don't want to venture into something?
No, I don't want to venture into something. No. Anywho, playing probably another privileged character, but I think the difference between the characters that I've created and the character that I'm going to create is the two of them were kind of more of an independent, so they weren't really aligned with Camarilla or Sabat or anything to that sort of standpoint.
Okay.
And so this character I'm really looking to be very by the book Camarilla. Understands all the rules and plays by the rules only.
Super directorate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like super traditional, which is always fun too.
Super traditional.
Yeah.
Because I really want to learn the rules of vampire and the best way to break them. So.
I've learned that with a lot of these characters, with a lot of these characters, yeah, like you kind of, like sometimes I love playing the uber traditional whatever it is, so that you can figure out what all your political and social tolerances are,
Yeah.
and figure out like where to meddle with those and which things that you really can't break.
Right.
But it's very rare that you can not break something.
Right.
Because power always moves.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
but who knows? It'd probably all go out the window and have to use the skills that I'm normally used to like get some sort of attention and work for it. So, but we'll see. I'm playing her as a rich power princess. So far I have her name and her birthright as a human. So I'm going probably with Ava Vanderbilt. So she's already coming from a lot of money, and we'll see where that backstory goes, because it should be interesting.
So, so you told me like a little bit about like Sia and everything. So what kind of characters are you usually drawn to that you want to play at a LARP?
What I'm drawn to are usually the power social kind of characters. I'm not really into the brute force type of people. I guess, I don't know. I don't really believe in that. I'd rather try to socially manipulate stuff.
So no Bruja for you, really?
No Bruja. I'd probably make a really good Bruja, but it doesn't intrigue me as much. I like to be pretty.
It's weird because I mentioned that playing Virgo, and Virgo is a Bruja.
Yeah, who's pretty.
And I had to figure out how that worked. And when I looked at one end of the Bruja spectrum, Bruja in that particular character type were also super philosophical, super intellectual. And so I went with the idea of a Camarilla lawyer. So if he was going to fight anybody, it would have been in a court of law.
Right. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, so I kind of thought, like, keep the passion there. And I kind of, as a result of playing that Bruja, I didn't realize that Bruja can actually be far more passionate than Toreador, which is weird at first, until I realized playing one, it's like, because you get angry. But Toreador, they fall in love with whatever they see.
So, I mean, in terms of characters as well, like, so Changeling, for example, my very, very first character and my favorite Kith ever is Ishu, which is not the pretty ones. So she is usually your pretty ones. Ishus are...
They're like the scholars, right? Or
they're the storytellers.
Yeah.
So I guess you can kind of equate them to like your Tremere type. Probably your Tremere. Yeah, because they're more the artistic type fairies. So their whole power or their shtick is telling stories. So the more you tell stories, the more glamour you win.
That almost sounds gangrelly, actually.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah, because there is the side of the history and story. Like you're like as an Ishu, you're constantly trying to grab the story from people and understanding it. So it drew me to that because well, first off, the artwork that I saw for Ishu was just it was just beautiful, and I related it because of my culture. So I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, and it was probably some of the first artwork that I personally have seen that portrayed brown people as actually really beautiful, not just a random like support character, you know.
Wow.
It's I guess that's probably why I got drawn to it really, really quickly. Was so the Ishu are mainly in your northern Africa, Mediterranean. So it wasn't necessarily like black people, like African people,
Like not Nubian type, but more like North African.
Yeah, like actually like legitimately brown skinned people. And like to me, I never really get to see that. I don't know if you do, but like usually like when you look at cultural stuff that's in like the fantasy realm, you've got like the really, really dark people, you know, you're African, you got the really, really light people, you get your gingers, which kind of gives you like but you never really see that mix of brown. And I guess that's why I like the Ishus, the artist, the brown, and
that's really interesting that you brought it up. I know that having played buffer LARPs, a few of them, it's interesting. Like in my first buffer LARP that I played was Dying Kingdoms. And one of the things that I did notice right away in terms of the world is that you had an analog for for a lot of European countries, but everyone that was like the equivalent of Asia and Africa and like certain parts were all in this one world called Aswahi, which was the name of that world in Dying Kingdoms.
Okay.
And so it's interesting that no one plays anyone from Aswahi because no one understands that culture at all. And when I walked into it, like all the other cultures were super, I don't want to say super white, they were, but more like they were very based off of the European, like European culture because that's what they knew.
Right.
And for me, like I kind of wanted to play someone who was Polynesian, rather than, and that analog did not exist. So I forged one within Aswai, and Jesse Heinig, who is the creator of Dying Kingdoms, was very instrumental in allowing me to create a world that I identified with in that whole fantasy role-playing thing. And so I created a land called Kea Cebu, and Kea meant, I made up what that meant. Like Kea meant sea, Cebu what referred to the city Cebu in the Philippines because I'm Filipino. So we had a place called Kea Cebu that was based off of a Polynesian tradition. And so I got to help write that out. It got to be an existing land in that whole fantasy place. And so it was wonderful for me that I got to play something that did not exist, but B, I helped to make it because no one else was playing it.
You also brought a little bit of yourself to it, like
and
a lot of it of yourself.
Yeah, I brought a lot of it. I brought a lot of myself into it, which is like the name of this episode. But it was also important that I don't see a lot of representation of people who were like me. So I had to invent it. And luckily, by inventing it and interacting with people with that, like they got to appreciate it. They got to know about it. And like even days after, like I was at Pillars of Salt with Rachel, and she had talked to another player about, so this is Ryan, and he, that one land that's very Polynesian in Dying Kingdoms, he helped create that. And I was like, oh my God, that was years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And again, it was interesting because though that type of culture didn't exist until like I came in. And I'm not saying because I created it. It's like I just wanted something that I could identify with. So there's that. I wanted to put my heritage into
kind of making me rethink my venture now.
Huh? What do you mean?
Because I tend to kind of go with a more, apologize for using this term, but it's probably the best thing I can think of. I usually kind of play a more whitewashed character. I think I might play a Pachuca.
Oh, wow.
For a venture. I'm not Mexican, but I really love that culture. I think it's really cool.
Oh, you would totally rock the style for that too.
And do a whole zoot suit sort of thing.
Wow.
Oh, you've just inspired me. Aw. Yay.
That would be, wow. Oh, I want to see that.
I want to see it too. Yay, more clothes shopping.
More clothes.
On our next episode, how to make a costume for your character. Yeah, you just really inspired me. I didn't realize that I tend to do that, and I need to, I don't want to say stop, but rethink. And I think I really want to do, I really know a lot about the Pachucos and the history of it. And again, I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, so I can't say that I have family, obviously, that lived it or anything, but I find it so fascinating, and inspiration right there. Yes.
The reason why I went with Polynesian as opposed to Filipino, part of it is because I am not I'm not Polynesian myself, and even though I know there's many Filipinos who live in Polynesian culture, especially Hawaii, but I remember going to Hawaii at one point and feeling a really strange sense of I belong here, which is really, really weird because I think I was 12 when I was there. But also, like, I realized that Filipino culture is so very unusual in Asia
Right.
because, like, you have a land that is in Southeast Asia and has a lot of Spanish and is super Catholic.
Yep. Because of the Spaniards.
Yeah, because it's Spaniards. Even to the point, and I think I mentioned this before, in World of Darkness, you don't know, there's not a lot written about the Philippines because unless you're Filipino, what do you write about them without insulting them?
Right.
But I love the fact that there is a La Sombra who is based in Manila. And
Oh,
it makes
nice.
a lot, and for
Yeah.
me, that makes so much
Right.
sense.
Catholicism and
Yeah, like
it
they're super
works.
Catholic.
Yeah.
So, one of the character concepts that I wanted to have in One World Midnight, but it didn't pass, was a character that did come from Manila. The problem is Manila is Sabah occupied territory, so it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool to like just kind of think about how do I insert a culture that isn't normally represented, and then put that into something that does exist. When I play my Koijin right now, like there's not really a lot of Filipino Koijin except that the explanation for Filipino Koijin is that they're one of the few Koijin that could infiltrate a lot of kindred society because they don't come off as typical Asian and they usually don't have Asian last names.
Yeah.
So I thought this was really, really interesting. It's like, so I want to play a little bit off of that tangent.
So what was cool about my changeling is my specific issue, because they talk about, this is what I love about Ishu as well, their deities, they talk about orishas and obas, and that's all Afro-Cuban culture. So I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, so those are like the kind of the deities that that I grew up with and learning about. So again, that was another draw for me. So I got to play not an African version of my changeling, but a Cuban version of my changeling. So I actually got to like put a little bit more of myself into it. And then she became she became an Oba, which means that she started owning land. And for Ishus, like owning land was not a thing. Like they're travelers everywhere. So once you do that, you become part of royalty. And you can only like stay living in a bit of land. So when she got that, she was like freaking out, and that's kind of where the story ended for her. Poor thing. But yeah, that's a really good topic.
Yeah.
I dig this.
Yeah. Like, it's also interesting, too, like, you know, also not being straight. Like, one of the things that I did explore, which was really interesting and weird because I try to be respectful in terms of that kind of role play with people, is hitting on other guys.
Okay.
You know, flirtation is also sometimes a skill that you do learn at LARP, because LARP is such a social.
Oh yeah.
It's such a social event. Like, you have to learn. Like, you end up just learning these social skills as a result of LARPing for a very long time. Like, people who might have been very, very introverted have learned to figure out the techniques in order to be social. Or also, like, so many people do find relationships and even get married as a result of having LARP together, because they get to spend that kind of time intimately.
Yeah.
Whether they still play hated enemies and still like spend time together is a different thing, but it's also quality time you are spending with someone in a very social environment.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered quite a bit there.
We covered a whole lot of like different demographics.
Yeah.
The more than I expected to. But that was cool.
I agree. So our Facebook constituents and our Podbean constituents, let us know what are the topics you want us to talk about. If you want us to continue on a topic that we discussed today, let us know, because we would love to explore it.
Also, one of the things that I would love to hear from our audience is, you know, we talked a little bit about putting ourselves into some of our characters and exploring that. Like, what have you learned about yourself from playing a LARP character that you have played? Or what areas of your life do you want to explore from a potential LARP that you would like to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're looking forward to listening to that. And if some of that is really, really awesome and interesting, we would love to cover that in a future episode.
Yep.
Yes.
And if you have any cool pictures from your recent LARPs, send it to us. We'd love to see them.
Yes. We're still getting ready with our social medias, but we are slowly building that up right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully by episode 5 we will have all of that situated.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have to. I'm going to make us do it.
Okay, fine.
Fine.
Anywho, this is Sin
and Omega
signing off for the evening.
All right. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.